Hello everybody. Today you have multiplying and dividing rational numbers. So we're going to review the process for multiplying and dividing positive decimals in the table here below. So let's take a look at multiplying decimals. So we got a couple of rules here. It says multiply the digits as usual, ignoring the decimal point. So if you notice in my example, I had a couple of decimal points here, but I've rewritten it without it. Then it says the product will have the same number of places behind the decimal as the multiplicand and the multiplier combined. So we have the multiplicand, which has 2, and the multiplier, which has 1. So my answer is going to have how many decimal places? I have 1 decimal place here and 2 decimal places here, so my answer is going to have 3 decimal places. So let's get started a little bit. So we have 3 times 0, which is 0. I have 3 times 8, which is 24. And I need to take my 20 and add it to the next place value. So now I have 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2, which is 8. Then I have 3 times 1, which is 3. Now what you're going to see is we have 6 times 0, but this really isn't a 6. This is 60. So I'm going to have a placeholder here on the next level. You got to add a 0 every time you go down a level here. So now I have 6 times 0, which is 0. 6 times 8, which is 48. And to not confuse myself, once you're done with something like this, erase it. Okay, I'm moving mine to the side. So now remember I had 6 times 8, which was 48. So I have to take my 40 and move it to the next place. Now I have 6 times 2 plus 4. So 6 times 2 is 12, plus 4 is 16. I'm going to take the 1 here and move it to my next place value. Now I have 6 times 1 plus 1. So 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Alright, now that I've done all that, what I need to do is add up my products. So I'm going to add up everything that I just got when I was multiplying. So I have 0 plus 0 is 0. 4 plus 0 is 4. 8 plus 8 is 16. And I have to carry over the 1. Now I have 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. And again, I'm going to need to carry that place value over. So I carry the 1 over to the next place value. Now I have 7 plus 1 is 8. All right, now in my bullet point here, it says the product will have the same number of places behind the decimal. So I had, remember, 3 numbers behind the decimal, so that means my answer is going to have 3 decimal places. So I have 1 here, and 1 here. So it's going to go right between the 0 and the 6. So at the end of anything that has a decimal, right, you can get rid of that 0. You don't need it. All right, so your answer is going to look something like this, 80.64 or 80 and 64 hundredths. All right, let's look at the division of decimal numbers. So in order to make the divisor a whole number, multiply it by a power of 10. All right, in this case, our divisor is already a power of 10. There is no decimal in my divisor. We're good to go. It says multiply the dividend by the same number of 10. Again, we didn't need to do that because it was no decimal in the divisor. So then it says divide and bring the decimal directly above into the quotient. So I set you up right here. All right, and we have 43, which is my 43.7, which is my dividend. So my dividend goes inside and my divisor goes outside. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So 19, can it go into 4? No. And I leave it blank, but sometimes people will put an X above it just to show that it did not go in. All right, but 19 can go into 43. So how many times can that do that, right? If you have a calculator, you can always do it on your calculator, okay? So if I don't know, I can take 43 and divide it by 19. And I'm going to get 2 and then a little bit left over here, a big old decimal, but this is leftovers, okay? So I know it can go in 2 times. So I've divided. Now I can multiply. 2 times 19. 2 times 19 gives me 38. Okay, now I have to ask myself how many times. Oh, I'm sorry. Now I have to subtract. Sorry. So I'm going to subtract 38 from 43. And what am I going to get? I can subtract it on my calculator if I would like. All right, 43 take away 38. And I get 5. Now, if you wanted to take, you know that 5 can't, I'm sorry, you know that 19 isn't going to go into 5. It's not a large enough number. So what I have to do is I have to take the next place value and bring it down. I'm going to bring the 7 on down. You guys probably remember doing this in earlier grades. So I brought this 7 all the way down to make 57. And I have to figure out how many times 19 can go into 57. So I'm going to take 57 and divide it by 19. And I get an even number. That's awesome. So I have 3. And then I can do 3 times 19. And I get an even number. I got 57 again. So basically that means I'm not going to have a remainder, which is great. Because every time, now that I'm going to subtract, I'm going to get my answer of 0. And I am done. My answer here is 2.3. It says down below for decimals, use your understanding of integer rules and multiplication and division of decimals to solve the problems below. So I did a multiplication example up here for you, so you should be able to do this. And also remember that this line right here, this is division. So this is -5 divided by -2. So the rules still apply. So if the signs are the same, the product slash quotient is positive. So I have a positive times a positive will equal a positive. A negative times a negative equals a negative. A negative divided by a negative equals a negative. A negative times a negative is going to be a positive. I'm sorry, I'm messing this up. All of these are positive. 4.5 times 3 is a positive. I have a negative and a negative. We have a positive. A negative and a negative, positive. All these signs are the same. A positive and a positive, we have a positive. All right. So then if you have, for example, -5 divided by -2, you guys are entitled to calculators, so I do suggest using a calculator. So for example, if I have -5 divided by -2, I'm going to get positive 2.5. So there's your answer for that one right there. And as you can see, it is positive. So, if the signs are different, the product slash quotient will be negative. So, my sign is negative, this sign is positive, I'm going to get a negative answer. Same thing here, I have a positive and a negative. They are different signs. This one's positive, this one is negative. My quotient will be negative. For this one, I guess they're trying to trick you, because now I have the same sign, so it's going to be positive. And for the last one, a positive divided by a negative is going to be a negative. So if I have 32 divided by 5, 32 divided by negative 5, you get negative 6.4. Okay, we're going to be working with a little bit of fractions here, all right? But I've converted these for you, so that's no big deal. So first things first, change each mixed number to an improper fraction. Multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and simplify. So we had a mixed fraction here, 1 and 1/2. So the first thing you got to do is take 2 times 1 plus 1. 2 times 1 plus 1 is 3. My new numerator is now 3 over 2, or 3/2. Okay, now I have 7/8, which is good. So we need to multiply the numerators. So my numerator is 7 and my numerator is 3. So when I multiply 7 times 3, I get 21. And then 8 times, now I have to multiply the denominators. 8 times 2 is 16. So I have 21 over 16. And you can leave it improper, I'm fine with that, but if you want to convert that to a mixed number, you can, because my numerator is bigger than my denominator. So if you want to see what that looks like, I can show you real quick. So I need to ask myself how many times 16 can go into 21. I know that it can go in one time without any leftovers. Okay, so it's one time, so then I have to subtract 16 from 21. Is 5. So my new numerator is 5. And my denominator is going to stay the same. All right, for division. This is where you keep, change, flip, if you do remember some of the lessons from 6th grade. So it says change each mixed number to an improper fraction. Rewrite the first fraction. Change the division to multiplication. Find the reciprocal of the second fraction, and then multiply. So this is keep. We're rewriting the first fraction. Change the sign from division to multiplication. And then the reciprocal. So the reciprocal is taking the denominator and moving it to the top, and the numerator and moving it to the bottom. So I've kept my first fraction here, but of course I have to change my mixed numbers. So I have 4 times 2 plus 3. 4 times 2 plus 3 is 11. My new numerator is 11. So I've rewritten the first fraction after I've changed it to an improper fraction. It was mixed number, now it's improper. Now I have to change division to multiplication, and I have flipped my next fraction to its reciprocal, 3 over 2. So now what I'm going to need to do is multiply. So it's the same rules as this over here. All right, I'm going to multiply the numerators. So 11 times 3 is 11, and 4 times 2 is 8. And if you want to change this to a mixed number, you can. I showed you a little bit how to do that over here. All right, same rules apply. All right. Same as the top. Okay, you guys are all welcome to use a calculator. Okay? All right, last part. The rules can be expanded with more than two terms. So, for example, a term, we have -2 as a term and -2 as a term. This one has two terms. This one has three terms because it has three -2's. This one has four terms. And this one has five terms. So the rules can be explained, right? So describe the pattern I see. Well, the one thing that I need you to realize is that if we have an even number of terms, my solution will be positive. And if it is odd, it's going to be negative. So, for example, we had two terms, right? And I'm doing terms here, right? This one was three terms. And I'm going to be a little bit hard on you guys here. Guys, if you don't know the difference between even and odd numbers, here's the point where you need to Google what an even number is and what an odd number is. I'm going to touch on it here, but really, this is something that you guys all need to remember or look up for yourselves at this point. All right? So this one had four terms. And this one had, quick picture of my son. There he is, my man. All right, and this one had five terms. All right. My even numbers, when you count by twos. So, 2 is an even number. 4 is an even number. All right? Now, it's easy to say if it is not even, it's odd. So 2, 4, 6, right? Counting by twos. Counting by twos. Something I teach in first grade. Okay? You should be able to count by twos all the way to 100. And if it is not a number that is counting by twos, it's going to be odd. So, I have an even number here. My solution was positive. All right? I have an even number here. It is also positive. Now I have an odd number here, so I have a negative. And the other odd number is the same deal. Negative. Okay? So you need to describe this pattern. So if I were going to describe it, I would say something like, if the terms, if there are an blank number of terms, my answer will be blank. All right? And on the same side of that, if there are an blank number of terms, my answer will be blank. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. Everybody have a great day. Stay safe.